This is the story of how I got stiffed by a shady HOA and what I did to make sure they never forgot it. Let's just say they thought they owned the pool until I locked them out of it. It all started in early May. The summer rush was just kicking in. You know how it goes. Everyone suddenly remembers they have a pool. Phones ringing off the hook, homeowners asking for emergency cleanings like, I'm the pool world's version of 911. Chlorine out of stock. Filters back ordered. But hey, I love the grind. It's my time to shine. That's when I got a call from someone who introduced himself as Brad, HOA president. Spoke like a guy who played tennis at 5 a.m. and ate plain grilled chicken on purpose. Super polite, very professional, and he said their last pool guy had vanished in the middle of the season. Red flag? Maybe. But money talks, and this HOA managed a pretty high-end gated community just outside of town. Clubhouse gym, tennis courts, and a massive pool, like Olympic-size massive. He said they needed someone reliable and fast. Now listen, I've dealt with HOAs before. It's always a little political. You've got your board members, your cranky retirees, and at least one guy who thinks the pool rules should be enforced like federal law. But if the check's clear, I'm good. We agreed on a contract, weekly cleanings, full equipment checks, chemical balancing, algae control, the works. A 90-day trial with bi-weekly payment terms. Standard stuff. I emailed the terms, he signed electronically within an hour, and boom, I was on their books. First week goes great. I show up early, clean the pool top to bottom, test the chemicals, everything perfect. I even fixed a busted skimmer basket without charging them. Why? Because I believed in playing the long game. Treat them right, build trust, maybe land a long-term deal for the whole year. It was looking solid. Second week, still good. The pool's sparkling, no complaints. In fact, I get a message from one of the residents through the HOA portal saying, "The pool looks better than it has in years. Thank you." Which, I'll admit, felt good. But then the third week hit. And that's when things got weird. First, I show up to do my usual cleaning, and the gate code doesn't work. It's a keypad system at the back of the clubhouse. Usually, I just punch in the 4-digit code they gave me. The lock clicks, and I'm in. But now, nothing. So I call Brad. No answer. I text. Nothing. I wait around a bit, try the front entrance. Eventually, one of the board members, I think her name was Karen, no joke, walks by and lets me in. She doesn't say hi, doesn't even look at me. Just opens the door, then stands there, arms crossed, watching me clean like I'm trying to steal chlorine or something. Now listen, I've had my fair share of awkward HOA encounters, but this was something else. Cold shoulder, stone face, total attitude. I finish the cleaning, lock up, and leave feeling like I just walked out of a silent courtroom. A few days later, it gets worse. I check my payment app. Nothing. Okay, maybe they're just late. It's not the first time someone's taken an extra day or two. But now it's been 6 days, then 8, then 10. Still no payment. So I email Brad. Then I text him. Still nothing. By day 12, I'm getting annoyed. I send a final message. Hey Brad, just checking in. Haven't received payment for the last 2 visits. Let me know if there's an issue. Professional. Director. But polite. Crickets. At this point, I start digging through the HOA's online presence. Turns out, this isn't the first time they've had vendor issues. There's a whole thread on a local contractor forum warning about them. One guy said they delayed payments by over a month. Another claimed they tried to dispute charges after services were rendered. Awesome. So I double-checked my contract. Thankfully, I had the foresight to include a clause. Non-payment exceeding 15 days results in automatic suspension of services. 15 days come and go. Still no word. So I make a decision. No more cleanings, no more polite reminders. If they won't pay me, They can enjoy the green monster that's about to take over their pool. But I didn't just stop cleaning. I made it official. I printed out a notice, bold letters, laminated sheet, pool closed, service suspended due to contract breach. I even zip-tied it to the entry gate. I left one on the pool house door, one on the bathroom wall, and I took photos of everything, time-stamped, just in case they tried to claim I disappeared. The very next day, my phone lights up. It's Brad. Suddenly, he's alive again. Hey, yeah, we saw the signs. What's going on? I told him straight, you're past due. I followed up multiple times. No payment. Per contract, services are suspended. He gives me the classic HOA spin. We've been having some internal transitions. Our treasurer resigned and we had to move bank accounts. Right, and I'm the Easter Bunny. I kept my tone cool, though. Understood, but payments still overdue. I'll resume service once the invoice is cleared. He says, okay, I'll talk to the board and get back to you. 2 more days. Nothing. Meanwhile, residents start messaging me directly. One woman actually tracked me down on Facebook and wrote, can you please fix the pool? It's almost 90 degrees out and it's turning green. I didn't reply. Not my problem anymore. Then, the funniest part, they try to bring in another company. A competitor of mine. But guess what? That guy's in my network. We talk. He calls me and says, hey man, you did work for the Mirsch community name, right? They're trying to hire me. I give him the rundown. Non-payment, silent treatment, the whole thing. He replies, thanks. Yeah, hard pass. So now they're stuck. The pool's closed, turning green, and no one wants to work with them. And that's when the second call comes in. It's Brad again, except this time, he's got backup. Someone else is on speaker. I think it's Karen. They're trying to clear the air. We don't want bad blood, she says. But your signs are making the board look bad. I literally laughed. I said, well, stiffing a small business will do that. Brad sighs. Okay, we'll send the payment today. But now I'm done playing nice. I say, listen, I'll accept the payment. But before I resume service, I want the full amount cleared in writing. And I want a written confirmation from your new treasurer that I'll be paid on time going forward. No more games. They weren't thrilled, but they agreed. Payment hits my account that night, every cent, plus a $50 tip for the inconvenience. Cute. So yeah, I resumed cleaning for exactly 2 more weeks. Then I dropped them. Professionally, of course. Sent an email stating that due to incompatibility with the HOA's administrative process, I'd be discontinuing services at the end of the month. Because, at the end of the day, no amount of chlorine can fix a rotten board. You know what's wild? Months later, I heard from another contractor that the HOA had burned through 3 more service providers since me. Either they didn't pay, micromanaged, or tried to renegotiate contracts mid-season. It was never about the pool. It was about control. HOAs like this want to squeeze every last drop from vendors, then act surprised when things go south. But not me. Not anymore. Now, every time I drive past that neighborhood, I smile. Because I know one thing for sure. They thought they ran the show. Until I locked them out of their own pool. You'd think that after finally getting paid, I could just move on. Job done, invoices cleared, and all would be good again, right? But nope, because some HOAs aren't just incompetent, they're vindictive. And apparently, mine didn't like being embarrassed, especially not in front of their precious community. I should have known things wouldn't end clean. 2 weeks after resuming service, and just days after I submitted my official cancellation notice, I started hearing the whispers. One of my regular clients from another neighborhood, let's call her Tanya, texts me out of the blue. Hey, did you really get fired by a community name? Karen's saying you walked out and left their pool filthy. I stared at the screen for a second, not even surprised. No matter how clear you make the truth, people will always write their own version of it. Especially Karens with HOA titles and too much time on their hands. So I sent Tanya a copy of my service cancellation email. Polite, formal, time-stamped, and let the receipts speak for themselves. She replied with one word, "Yikes." Here's the thing most people don't realize about pool cleaning in tight suburban circles. Word travels fast, especially among HOAs. I knew that one nasty rumor could cost me future work in surrounding communities. So, I made a move. I posted a simple, professional update on my business Facebook page. No names, no shade, just the facts. We've recently ended service with a client due to non-payment and consistent communication issues. As always, we prioritize transparency and respect in every client relationship. That post got more likes than I expected. A few clients even commented things like, "That's why we stick with you. You handle business the right way." But behind the scenes, the HOA wasn't done. The next day, I get a call from a number I don't recognize. "Local area code," I answer. "Hi, is this the pool cleaner for community name?" I paused for a second. I was, yes. "Who's this?" "This is Mike. I'm a resident. I just wanted to ask, did you really abandon the pool and refuse service?" "Here we go." I kept my tone calm. "No, I fulfilled every scheduled cleaning up to the last day of our agreement. They broke the payment terms. I followed the contract, and when it was clear we couldn't work together professionally, I stepped away." There's a pause. Then Mike says, "That's what I thought. Karen's been blaming the pool guy at every board meeting, but honestly, this pool's been a mess ever since you left. They brought in some new company, and it's worse than ever." I thanked him, gave him a free tip on keeping his own filter running, and moved on. But that call stuck with me, because that's when I realized they didn't just want to not pay me, they wanted to control the narrative. So I went back through my phone, every photo of the signs I posted, every invoice, every seen message with no reply, screenshots of the date I turned off service, and the exact moment the payment finally hit. And I put them in a neat little folder, HOA Defense Kit. I didn't plan to use it, but if I ever had to protect my reputation again, I'd be ready. Now here's where it gets interesting. About 3 weeks after my final visit, I get another call. Different number. Same area code. "Hi, this is Sherry. I'm with the HOA at Willowbrook Estates. I've never worked with them before, but I've heard of them. Similar setup. Clubhouse, large pool, fancy lawn signs." Sherry continues, "We got your number from one of our residents. We're looking to hire a new pool service." My instinct? Be cautious. So I ask, "If you don't mind me asking, who gave you my number?" She laughs. "Actually, it was Mike, from Community Name. Said you were the best pool guy they ever had, and they regretted letting you go." "Oh, really?" I didn't say it out loud, but I definitely smirked. We scheduled a site visit for the following week. I show up. Big, beautiful property. Pool's cloudy, but nothing unfixable. During the walkthrough, I noticed something familiar. Same model of control pad, same brand of filtration system. I've worked on these a dozen times. Sherry's polite, professional. The kind of HOA rep you want to work with. The kind who says things like, "We always pay on the first Friday," and actually means it. Before I leave, she says, "Just so you know, we had our last pool guy for 6 months. He started off strong, but the last 2 months, total disaster." I nod and hand her my card. I've seen that happen before. But in my head, I'm thinking, this is how it should have gone with a community name. Fast forward 3 weeks. I'm servicing Willowbrook every Thursday now. Water's crystal clear. Residents wave. Some even bring me iced tea. Night and day from the last place. But then one day after I wrap up and I'm loading my tools into the truck, guess who walks by? Brad. From the other HOA. He's pushing a stroller, pretending not to see me, but I make eye contact, nod, and say, "Hey, Brad." He gives me the tightest fake smile I've ever seen. Hey, didn't know you were over here now." I shrug. "Yep, pool needed help. I was available." He nods again, says nothing, and keeps walking. About 20 minutes later, I get a text from Sherry. "Hey, funny story, just met one of our new resident transfers. Said he used to be on an HOA board across town, and warned me you're a little difficult. LOL. Thought you'd appreciate the heads up. I chuckled and texted back, no worries. If being difficult means expecting to be paid, I'll own that. She replied, exactly, you're doing great. And just like that, I knew I had done the right thing. Because the truth always wins, especially when you keep the receipts. A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that the HOA from the original neighborhood had switched pool companies again. Apparently, the last guy walked off after 3 missed payments and a complaint from Karen about water spots on the ladder. Classic. I won't lie, there was a part of me that felt tempted to post something online. A little petty victory lap, maybe a meme, something like, if you can't keep your pool guy for more than a month, maybe you're with the problem. But I didn't. Because when you know you did things right, you don't need to gloat. What I did do, though, was add one small clause to my standard contract moving forward. In the event of service suspension due to non-payment, signage may be posted indicating the reason for interruption. Removal or tampering may result in additional fees. You'd be surprised how many people pay on time now. And every once in a while, when I pass by that old neighborhood, I slow down. I glance over at the pool gate. No signs now, no tape. But something tells me they still remember. Because that summer, for 2 whole weeks, they had to explain to their sunburned, pool-deprived neighbors why their once perfect community center had a laminated sign zip-tied to the fence, with my logo on the bottom corner. They thought they could stiff the pool guy and rewrite the story. But they forgot one thing. I don't just clean pools, I clean up messes. Even when the mess is the HOA itself. A few months went by. Summer turned into fall, and my schedule slowed down. Pools didn't need weekly cleanings anymore, and customers started winterizing. I actually had time to breathe, fix my gear, even take a weekend off here and there. Things were good. But if you've ever dealt with a shady HOA, you know peace is temporary. Because just when I thought the story was over, it circled back in the most ridiculous way. One chilly Thursday morning, I'm servicing a backyard pool across town. Quiet, leafy neighborhood. I'm elbow deep in a skimmer basket full of soggy leaves when my phone rings. Unknown number. I usually ignore those, but something nudged me. I dried my hands and picked up. Hello? A woman's voice answers. Hesitant. Professional. The kind of tone that says she's already nervous and trying not to show it. Hi, is this the owner of your company name? Yes, speaking. My name is Janet. I'm the new board president at Community Name. I believe you worked with us earlier this year? I didn't respond for a second, just stared at the cloudy reflection in the pool. Yeah, I said, I remember. She cleared her throat. I understand things ended poorly with the previous board. I wasn't involved at the time, but I was hoping we could talk. Now this caught my attention. HOAs don't usually call back the guy they blacklisted. They move on, find a new vendor to push around, rinse and repeat. But this was different. I'm listening, I said. Janet sighed, like she'd already rehearsed this a dozen times. Our pool has had 4 different companies this season. The last guy didn't even show up for 3 weeks. The water turned black, literally black. Residents are furious. I've inherited a mess, and I want to make it right. If you're willing, I'd like to invite you back. I won't lie, I smiled a little. Not because I missed them, but because karma was finally coming around. Still, I played it cool. That's unexpected. I get it, she said quickly. If I were you, I wouldn't trust us either, but I'm new. Half the board is new. Karen and Brad, gone. We're trying to fix things. Can we meet in person? I paused. A big part of me wanted to say no. Another part, though, wanted to see how deep this rabbit hole went. Sure, I said. Let's meet. We set a time for the following Tuesday. I showed up early. Professional shirt, clipboard, clean truck. If I was going to consider this, I wanted to make it clear I was in control. Janet met me in front of the clubhouse. Late 40s, well-dressed, sharp. She smiled and shook my hand like a real business partner. I really appreciate you coming, she said. No problem. Let's take a look. We walked through the gate, and the first thing I saw, the pool. Murky. Leaves floating. Algae blooming at the edges. Filters humming weakly like they'd given up. I turned to her and said, "This is bad." She laughed, dry, exhausted. "Tell me about it." As we walked the perimeter, she explained what had happened. After I left, Brad had brought in a buddy of his, some amateur who did residential pools part-time. He undercharged, overpromised, and fell apart by July. Then came contractor number 2. Overcharged, barely did the work. Claimed the sun was too intense for cleaning. Contractor 3 tried to switch them to all natural systems, without telling them. By the time they realized it, the chlorine levels were basically 0. One kid ended up with an ear infection. Contractor 4, no show. By September, the board was in panic mode. Residents were complaining at every meeting. Parents were threatening to withhold HOA dues unless the pool was fixed. Janet, newly elected and the only person who knew how to send an email on time, stepped in. When she finished the story, I just looked at the pool and shook my head. "I hate to say it," I told her, "but this whole system might need to be flushed and replaced. The filters are shot, the circulation's failing. And the algae, this isn't just cosmetic. It's rooted." She nodded solemnly. I figured, "Can you fix it?" "Yeah," I said, "but it's going to cost you." She didn't flinch. "Send the estimate, and we'll pay up front. No more billing delays." That was a first. I sent over the quote that night. Full system clean, chemical shock, filter replacement, and 3 weeks of consistent weekly treatment. I even priced it fair, firm but not exploitative. And just like she promised, the payment landed in my account the next morning. I returned that Friday. It took 3 hours just to get the algae scraped down and vacuumed. I dumped gallons of chlorine in, like nuclear-level shock treatment, replaced filters, cleaned the skimmers. The pool went from swamp to tolerable. Over the next few weeks, I kept it steady. Bit by bit, the water turned crystal again. Residents started showing up. Kids swam. A few people even stopped by to thank me. And every time I locked the gate behind me, I smiled. Because I knew. This time, I wasn't just cleaning a pool. I was undoing a mess they created when they underestimated me. At the end of the 3rd week, Janet met me by the gate with a small envelope. Inside, a handwritten thank you note and a gift card to my favorite supply store. That never happens. Ever. She looked me in the eye and said, "I hope this makes up for how things started." I said, "It does." And I meant it. But before I left, I gave her one final piece of advice. "You're going to get complaints," I said. "It's an HOA. That's what people do. But you keep the books clean, pay people on time, and trust your contractors, you'll never have to deal with this level of disaster again." She nodded. Message received. I drove off that day with something I didn't expect. Closure. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about showing people that doing the right thing still matters. That small businesses deserve respect. That you can stand your ground and still come out ahead. And to this day, every time I clean a pool, I think about that one summer. The fake smiles, the unpaid invoices, the laminated sign that made HOA board members sweat. And I smile. Because in a world full of shallow apologies and deeper messes, sometimes the only way to be heard is to lock the gate and let the silence speak for itself.